Go ahead and get started today. Welcome to the Louisiana Leads the Way in Educator Support as we continue the unveiling of the LEADS system, including the Louisiana Educator rubric, the Louisiana Leader rubric, and the Louisiana Council rubric. We are so happy that you were able to join us today. We know many of you are in the midst of testing. And before we begin, we did want to share with you all that the presentation today is very similarly going to mirror the presentations that we've done already last week. So if you participated last week, while you're certainly more than welcome to stay with us to receive the information, it is not something that you would be required to do. Today, we're excited to take a deep dive into the new Louisiana evaluation system. The improved system is named LEADS, the Louisiana Educator Advancement and Development System. The name is consistent with the vision for evaluation, which is focused on growth and development of our educators as we ultimately aim to improve student achievement. My name is Arthur Jofreon, and I serve as the Deputy Assistant Superintendent of Educator Talent and Workforce Development. Joining me today from the Louisiana Department of Education, we have Miss Laurie Pennison, who is an evaluation specialist and has guided the work of the evaluation evolution. Miss Pennison, would you like to say good afternoon?
Good afternoon, everybody. We're excited to have you here today as we begin to unveil our new evaluation system. And we're happy to share information so that you can get started in preparing for our transition. Thank you.
In addition, from the Louisiana Department of Education, we have Ms. Pennison's immediate supervisor and the Director of Preparation and Accountability, Ms. Rebecca Stevenson.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see such a large group here today. A lot of our work was really thoughtful with the counselor work. We've met with a lot of counselors throughout the year in focus groups and in meetings, and we're very intentional with some of these changes. This is going to be a big shift for us here in Louisiana, but we're really excited for it. So we look forward to today.
Thank you. So the Evaluation Evolution Project actually began with a request from the Teacher and Recruitment Task Force. Research was conducted and the field was surveyed. Over 8,000 educators responded to our survey, and data from the survey was used along with research to adjust the evaluation system. The new components and processes that were determined were actually piloted by multiple systems as well as charter organizations during the 23-24 school year. And the pilot helped to inform decisions that you're going to see today, including new policy to Bulletin 130, which was approved by our Bessie board in March. In response to research and feedback and following an RFP process, the department contracted with the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching, NIET, to assist with strengthening the Louisiana evaluation system, along with developing resources to support professional learning. At this time, I would like to introduce you to the Executive Director of Services from NIET and the project lead who has worked in consultation with us over the past year, Ms. Nicole Boland.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Joe Freon. We are excited to be a part of this reimagination of Louisiana's evaluation system, and we were thoroughly excited to be a part of this process for reimagining the counselor rubric and really focusing counselors in on what's most important in supporting students and their success. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you all today. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to moving forward in this partnership and the exciting things to come.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for your partnership as well as for being here today. So this transition to an approved system will span over the course of 3 years, beginning with the pilot that we're currently wrapping up, the evaluation learning year, which is considered the 24-25 school year, followed by full implementation in the 25-26 school year. We are happy to report that nearly 70 school systems and LEAs, and charter organizations have fully opted into the implementation of the Louisiana Educator, Louisiana Counselor, and Louisiana Leader rubric for next school year. The new system is based on evidence practices that enhance teaching and leadership practices. The new system is fair and transparent process that includes multiple measures, supports self-reflection, and gives teachers a voice in the observation and evaluation system. The new system leads to better feedback for improvement and resources to support individual growth, and it makes stronger connections between individual feedback and opportunities for professional learning. The rubrics that will be used in the evaluation were developed in collaboration with NIET and are based on the NIET Teaching and Learning Standards rubric and Principal Standards rubric, as well as the Louisiana Council rubric. The domains remain the same. There are minor changes to the name of some indicators. The descriptors have been enhanced to provide clarity and connection to Louisiana initiatives. We like to say that we've just put a little Tony Chachere's on the rubric. Over the past decade, the Louisiana Department of Education has implemented initiatives designed to support continuous improvement of teaching and learning across our great state. Louisiana has prioritized the adoption and implementation of high-quality instructional materials across the state. The Department of Education has supported districts and schools with implementing 3 proven strategies that enable sustained high-quality teaching and learning. And those include the instructional leadership team, teacher collaboration support, and career pipeline support. Louisiana's improved educator evaluation system will build upon and support education initiatives. The process and instructional practices evaluation supports will be implemented through the structures of instructional leadership teams and teacher collaboration, and will support the implementation of high-quality instructional materials that have been adopted across the state. The Louisiana Educator Advancement and Development System will provide teachers, leaders, and counselors with a research-based vision for instructional excellence, promote student outcomes, focused assessment of instruction with heightened understanding of the teaching-learning relationship, and provide a structure of professional learning opportunities, all connected to evaluation. LEADS is designed to provide clear standards and quality feedback, support continuous improvement, provide differentiated follow-up, and enable reflection. The LEADS components and processes are aligned and cohesive to support continuous improvement of all educators across the state. Think for a minute, what is the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset? As we go through the components and processes of the Louisiana Educator Advancement and Development System, look for key features that promote and support a growth mindset. Research from Pete Hall and Alyssa Semerel conclude the more reflective you are, the more effective you are. With a growth mindset, we must engage in these characteristics. We have to all be more reflective. This improved evaluation system supports educators through the evaluation process to ensure reflection and growth. At this time, I am happy to turn the presentation over to Ms. Laurie Pennison, who will share information regarding updates to Bulletin 130.
All right. Hi, everybody. We did have revisions to Bulletin 130 that were approved in March by Bessie. These revisions are currently on notice of intent, and they'll come off of notice of intent this summer, meaning that at that time, you'll find the full updates in the bulletin. One revision to Bulletin 130 is that there will be more comprehensive training for all evaluators. So LEADS is going to have face-to-face training for all evaluators. This summer, we'll have training for those that are transitioning to the LEADS, and then we have plans for face-to-face trainings annually for new evaluators as they are hired and prior to evaluating. We do want to point out that the training for Louisiana leaders does include a section on the Louisiana counselor evaluation system as well. Evaluators will also have to pass an assessment annually. So following the training, they'll take an assessment and they'll need to take it every year going forward in order to evaluate. Another change in Bulletin 130 is monitoring. And so follow-up is going to be necessary to deepen our understanding around the rubric. We know that it takes time, and so we're going to help with monthly calls. We'll share insight onto how to build rater reliability, and we're also working to have on-site support. So the monitoring, as you see here, is to ensure that evaluators are attuned to the student-centered focus of the rubric and that they maintain reliable scoring. So annually, LDOE will analyze the relationship between observation scores and student results, and additional inter-rater reliability activities and action plans might be needed based upon the findings. Now, the reason that this is important, first of all, is because accuracy matters. So with an evaluation system, we know that it takes time to fully understand the processes or a rubric. And so this monitoring helps us identify any inconsistencies to ensure that there is, change or training done so that evaluation can have a true reflection on practices. We also want to ensure that evaluation is fair, and so this monitoring helps to ensure that there are no biases. And then we also want to ensure that the evaluations are connected to outcomes, because ultimately the goal is to improve educator performance in order to improve student learning. And then we also want to ensure that evaluations are accurate, because we want the feedback to you all to be accurate, because with accurate feedback, we can empower educators to improve their practices, and this will benefit our student success. We do understand that it takes time to learn a new rubric, and so our monitoring is based on a supportive process to ensure, fair, reliable, accurate evaluations leading to improved performance. Another change you'll see is that we're moving to a 5-point scale. Currently, the legacy system Compass is based on a 4-point scale, and now we'll be moving to the 5, with the 3 being proficient. And so NIT research does correlate between the rubric and showing that consistently performing at that 3 level you are going to see improvements in students in 1 year's growth. And so we want to stress that a 3 is really rock solid, and most people will probably live around this 3 range. And that's important to know because we might be really used to receiving a 4. And with our new rubric, we need to understand that the 3 is rock solid, but we do stress and show the higher scales because that's where we want to strive to be ultimately. And so we may visit those areas from time to time as we work to achieve those, but we can know that we can feel comfortable if we are performing at that proficient range. Now you'll see here the components that are included in evaluation. Some of them are the same and there are some adjustments. There is still a qualitative section, and this includes observations. You'll see for counselors, we now call it a conference. This is one slight difference. It's still a rubric that will be scored, but evidence will be collected throughout the year. And then there'll be a mid-year conference or performance review, and there'll be an end of the year as well. And something else new here in the qualitative section, you'll see a self-assessment. So all educators, including counselors, will have the opportunity to self-assess according to the rubric and provide evidence of their reinforcements and refinements. And you'll see the qualitative side here has remained the same, with SLTs being worth a full 50%. I'm going to turn it over now to Rebecca to dig deeper into the counselor evaluation.
All right, thank you, Lori. All right, so first, the Louisiana Counselor Evaluation System includes the use, you can go to the next slide, Donna. Thank you. Of the Louisiana Counselor Rubric, what we're calling the LCR. It includes an enhanced training and certification process for those evaluators of counselors. We just had a question in the chat asking if the counselors should attend the training. The training is just for those that are evaluating the counselors. We will have a training for counselors in our professional learning platform that we'll talk about later. Evidence collection is ongoing throughout the year. There's opportunities to revisit goals and action plans.
You know which one?
Counselors are provided the opportunity.
Just a reminder for all of our participants, if you can ensure that you are on mute, we would appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Counselors are provided the opportunity to reflect on their own self-assessment portion of the evaluation process as well. And so on the next slide, you'll see a graphic, and here you'll see the blue section represents that qualitative assessment score, and then the green represents the growth score, what we call the qualitative score. Each of these are worth 50% of the overall score. The first conference is the middle of year conference, which is worth 15% of the overall rating. And then the second, the end of year conference, is worth 30% of the rating. The self-assessment score is worth 5%, and SLTs you'll see here are worth 50%. And so to show you a graphic a little more in detail, this mirrors also the process for our leaders. But at the beginning of the year, counselors are going to meet with their evaluators to set goals. And then during that middle of year conference, you reflect on your progress towards the goals and receive some coaching and feedback. And then this process is followed again for the end of year conference. And so the artifacts that will be collected, or there will be artifacts, there will be data collected. This can be through site visits, document sharing, communications. We suggest, those of you that use Google, Microsoft, have that folder and set forth at your beginning of your conference what you're going to collect. And you can just keep putting in your evidence throughout the year so that when these middle of year and end of year conferences come, you have all of your artifacts together. And then as a reminder, the percentages here show the weight used to figure the overall qualitative score. So in figuring out the full evaluation score, it's divided by 2 because the qualitative piece is worth 50%. So you'll see here it adds up to 100, but that 100, it's worth 50% of that score of what we saw in that blue piece. Okay. And so the Louisiana Counselor rubric has 5 domains and 13 indicators that really encompass the most important work that counselors should be allowed time to perform on a regular basis. And this is what we heard throughout our entire process over the last 2 years of meeting with counselors, is what counselors should be doing. And so through research and through looking at national rubrics, this is what we have. So I'm going to pause for about 30 seconds to allow you to glance over this. And so as we meet with school leaders and as we meet with district leaders, that's where the planning needs to start thinking about how these tasks are currently given to counselors to ensure that what a counselor is doing is aligned with best practices. And also counselors should be included on leadership teams and teacher collaboration as appropriate to the tasks, and that these tasks should not be halted for state testing. And then on the next slide, you'll see that like all of our rubrics, if you're not familiar with the other ones, each domain is weighted. So you can see here the weights are either 25%, 20, or 15%. And then just to go a little deeper into that evidence and artifact collection for counselors, you can collect artifacts such as counseling session notes, lesson plans, student support plans, any communications, anything with interactions, with anyone with the community within the school that you are doing. You can collect that through your document sharing. Multiple evidence sources are used when collecting the rubric ratings. So you can begin to look at structures that possibly already exist and what you're already doing as a counselor to think through as we have more training during the summer, and we're going to have that counselor training, we're going to have the training for the leaders, and thinking through what type of evidence and what can I start setting up to be able to share these documents throughout the year. Okay. And now we want to think through thinking through what we just looked through. And I know we don't have the rubric available for you today. It is in its final review, and we will post it we currently have the Compass library. We're working on we have a new revamp coming of our website, so we will have a leads page. But I'll share the link to the Compass library where you can see at the top part where it's going to post as soon as our final reviews are done. But thinking through what you just saw, how does the Louisiana Counselor Evaluation System support a growth mindset? Feel free to come into the chat and throw any of your thoughts here in the chat. Yes, I see Layla says she appreciates the reflection part. Yep. We felt that the self, reflection, no matter what your role is an important piece to evaluation. Definitely. Yes, Patrice, it's encouraging reflection and growth. Yes, because you have that beginning of year, that middle of year, and that end of year conference to really set your goals. And notice those aren't called observations like they were in the past. It's a conference because you're meeting and reflecting. Okay. So if anyone has any other thoughts, yes. Oh, I love what Layla said before I hand it back over. It also promotes what counselors are doing, less administrative work and more counseling tasks. That has been the whole point of this reimagination of the counselor rubric after hearing from counselors for many years now. And, you know, this is our perfect time to do that. And this will be covered in the leader training so that all leaders that are coming through this are going to hear the same message. Yes, the change in the language is positive. Thank you all. These are all really good points. All right. And so now I'm going to hand it over to Lori to briefly discuss the data platform.
All right, so as you know, right now, data is entered into CIS. And so I just want to speak a little bit about data entry. We are getting a new data system. CIS is old, and or I guess we could almost call it antique. And so we're getting a new data system with some enhancements, and it should be more interactive in that all data will be entered directly. Your scores will be entered by the evaluator, and then counselors will go in and do their self-assessments directly in here. There'll be professional growth plans that are now related to your refinement areas, and that will be entered into the data system. And so this interactive system should be more of a one-stop shop for you all so that you can keep up with what's been entered and what's coming. And we will have webinars coming that will give you, you know, a step-by-step how to use this data system. But if you're familiar with CIS, we should definitely be able to manage the new system as it should be more user-friendly. So more information to come. All the data will transfer over into this new system, so we won't lose data from previous evaluations. But like I said, more information will be coming soon on this system, so just be on the lookout. All right, in closing, we just want to talk a little bit about the actual support that we'll be providing during this transition to leads. Next slide. So there will be training for counselors provided in a professional learning platform. You may have also heard the term Canopy. So there will be a training coming in the fall sometime for counselors. We will also be having monthly calls with different learning focuses for evaluators. We're also going to be providing technical support, which could be, you know, from anything from how to complete an evaluation to the data system itself. And then we'll also be having on-site visits to support the implementation. There will also be continued refinement. And so we just wanted to show you here where currently SLTs remain the same. However, the guidance is going to be enhanced. So right now, we don't really have a lot of guidance around a counselor SLT. And so things like this are going to be continued to be developed during the 24-25 school year. We're also going to have more Louisiana specific examples in our handbooks, and a handbook with more counselor examples will be developed during the 24-25 school year as well. So we'll be continuing to collect feedback to enhance so that by our full implementation year 25-26, we have lots of resources to help with the implementation. We also have an FAQ doc linked here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Rebecca.
Thank you everyone for joining today. I am going to repost the deck in the chat, and I also put in the chat that if you joined late or if you know someone that needs to attend that didn't attend, we are going to be posting tomorrow in the newsletter another opportunity for counselors. And also we're going to repeat all of our trainings one more time. So we're going to be posting that in the newsletter tomorrow. So be looking out for that soon. And now I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Joffrion to close us out.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. Special thank you goes out to the systems and charter organizations who helped us to develop all of the rubrics through actual pilot implementation. We did. I'm looking at a couple of questions in the chat. Yes, it is our hope, and it is the hope of the field that counselors will serve as true counselors rather than only test coordinators. Ultimately, we're hopeful that the new rubric will help systems to make the decision to move their counselors to providing the necessary support to our students. We did use the National Counselors Rubric in addition to the NIET Council Rubric to help to develop it. The Council Rubric, in addition, we did hold several webinars where we met with counselors and school system leaders from across the state to provide feedback to us. Unfortunately, we're not able to release the rubric to you all today, but do know that it is in its final stages of being approved and vetted at the highest levels in the state agency. And it is our hope to have that rubric released to you all by early May. So thank you for your patience with us as we get that finalized. Thank you all so much for joining. I do want to point out that if you've got any questions that we weren't able to answer today, please feel free to email us at leads@la.gov, and we're happy to answer any questions. And in fact, the questions that you do submit will likely be added to our frequently asked questions document. Again, thank you all so much for your time today. And those of us from LDOE will hang on just a few minutes in case anyone has any additional questions. So thank you all.